Hey, thanks for stopping by the Minnesota Black Robe Regiment channel. Today I'm going to talking a little bit of, this is not explicitly for Christians, but this is explicitly, more specifically, I should say, about a current Christian perspective with the election in mind here in the United States. So the big conversation that is being had amongst Christians right now is, in light of current events as it surrounds the presidential election, how are we to proceed? How are we to respond? And there's clearly a certain amount of righteous indignation that has been had, and justifiably so, on the part of many conservative, constitutionally minded American Christians. And it would be wrong, frankly, for someone to say, don't be angry. You don't have a right to be angry here. But one of the drawbacks, if you will, is that people continue to say things like, well, Romans 13, 1-7 says we are to submit to the governing authorities. And the other place that people like to go is 1 Peter 2 or 1 Peter 2 and talk about honoring the emperor. And frequently what you will hear, well-meaning, but I think misguided Christians say is, well, when Peter wrote that, Nero was emperor, the emperor of Rome was an evil man. Which emperor of Rome wasn't an evil man, frankly? And he was persecuting and torturing Christians, and he was famous for throwing them into the Colosseum and covering them in pitch and putting them on stakes and lighting the streets with burning Christian lamps and crucifying Christians, and on and on and on and on and on. And so they'll say, look, if that's who Peter would tell us to honor and to respect, then gosh darn it, we can honor and respect and obey a president who isn't the one that we would have personally voted for. And I'm not discounting that. I'm not saying that the emperors of Rome during the days of the early church weren't evil men, and that they didn't. I'm not even arguing that they didn't do evil things. They clearly did. Most emperors do. That's the whole point of an empire most of the time. It bends and follows the whims and the whimsies of the emperor. It very rarely has anything to do with beneficence and the good of the people. However, here in the United States, we aren't an empire. We are a republic, and more than a republic, we are a constitutional republic. And so when people quote, and I'm going to bring it up here, I'm going to do a screen share. So here's my screen share. I'm going to bring this up. This is 1 Peter 13 or 2, 13 through 20. And you can see it all right here. I'm going to highlight it. Maybe that'll help a little bit. Peter, writing to the church, says this, starting in verse 13, submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether to a king as the one in authority, or to governors as sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. See, that reflects what Paul said in Romans 13, 1-7. For such is the will of God, that by doing right you silence the ignorance of foolish people. Act as free people, and do not use your freedom as a covering for evil, but use it as a bond servants of God. Honor all people, love their brotherhood, fear God, honor the king. Servants, be subject to your masters, with all respect, not only to those who are good but gentle, but also who are good and gentle, but also to those who are harsh. For this finds favor, if for the sake of conscience toward God a person endures grief when suffering unjustly. For what credit is there if you, when you sin and are harshly treated, you endure it with patience? But if when you do what is right and suffer for it patiently, endure it, this finds favor with God. Now, why is this so important to the Christian? Why is this so important to the question of what's happening in the United States right now, in this moment, with the presidential election? Why are these things so incredibly important? Here's why. Submit yourselves for the Lord's sake to every human institution, whether to a king as the one in authority or to governors as sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. Now you know why I don't read off of a script when I do my videos. I'm horrible at it. I'm much better extemporaneously. Here's the deal. The United States is not ruled by an emperor. The United States is not ruled by a governor. And I have had this conversation with many of you in the past. I have had this conversation with people via video and face-to-face over the phone. I have talked about it in many of my previous presentations here on the channel. We are a republic. We are a constitutional republic. Our highest earthly authority here in the United States, excuse me, is the Constitution. It is the human institution that we are submitting ourselves to. Now, God has instituted the Constitution of the United States in the United States for the very purpose of being our highest earthly authority. We submit ourselves to that. And we, the people, come directly under this. So the Constitution's here, the people are here. Emperors, in this case, presidents. Remember, president's not an emperor. He's not a ruler. Governors aren't rulers. We use the term president and we use the term governor, but they're not rulers. They're senior executives, either at the federal level or at the state level, but they're servants of the people. They are the servants. Watch what happens here. Or to the governors, as sent by him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. For this is the will of God. Now, if you have strong-willed, in a positive light, Christians with spine and intestinal fortitude who are doing what is right, even in the face of being told not to do what is right, those are the people that should be rewarded by human institutions, by the servants of the Constitution, the governors and the presidents and the legislators and the senators and so on and so forth. Those people should be rewarded, not punished, not chastised. Now, we talk about this a little later here. Peter does. He tells us, look, if you're being punished for doing wrong and you suffer it well, big deal. But if you're punished for doing right and you suffer it well, praise to you, because that finds favor with God. Now, finding favor with God here does not mean that you get rewarded with a rich earthly blessing. It doesn't mean that you earn salvation. It just means that God looks favorably on you when you do right and suffer for it patiently and with endurance. Now, verse 18, servants, be subject to your masters with all respect, not only to those who are good and gentle, but also to those who are harsh. Now, this ties in. To me, there's a twofold thing here that we're looking at. And I could be way off on this, but this we need to remember. We're to submit ourselves, for the Lord's sake, to every human institution, whether to a king as the one authority, or to governors as sent. And honor the king is at the end there in verse 17. Here's the deal. The American people are the masters. We are the masters. Governors, presidents, senators, representatives, attorney generals, secretaries of state, county auditors, county treasurers, all of that, county commissioners, city council members, mayors, yada, yada, yada. They are the servants, and they are to be respectful to us, we the people. So when Peter is compelling us to honor all people and love the brotherhood and fear God and honor the king, and to be subject or submitted to human institutions. In the context of the United States, that's the Constitution. Christians should be following the Constitution. They follow the Constitution first and foremost above everything else in the United States. When it comes to earthly authority, we follow the Constitution. Then it's we the people that are in charge. Everybody else serves us. They're our servants. And we honor them when they do right, and we punish them when they do wrong. And sometimes punishing them when they do wrong means they get booted out of office at the next election. Sometimes it means a recall. Sometimes it might mean impeachment and removal from office if their crimes are high enough in their violations of the Constitution. And they are to be subject to us as our servants because we are their masters. Now, is there an application here for you as an employee at your job? Absolutely. It doesn't matter if your boss is harsh. It doesn't matter if your boss is a jerk to you. You are subjected to him. You're kind and you are to be respectful. That's fine. Now, there's a line that you don't cross, and sooner or later you say, okay, enough's enough. I'm going to go find a different job. But elected servants serve us. We are the masters, and we should be kind to them. We should be treating them well. But when they're not doing right, and there again, I'm going to go back and I'm going to emphasize this. By him for the punishment of evildoers and the praise of those who do right. The Constitution is the highest ruling authority, and I've said that already. Then the people. When an elected servant isn't doing what is right, according to the Bible, what is right, they are to be punished. Punished by the ruling authority, the Constitution, and then the people. And when they do right, we are to praise them according to the ruling authority, the Constitution, and then the people. That's how it applies here. So when Peter says to pray for your leaders, pray for your rulers, pray for the Constitution to be upheld, pray for the American people to uphold the Constitution. Do you see how that works here in the U.S.? We see today that many of the people in elected office are actually condemning Christians for doing right. Challenging Christians and pushing them and making them criminal and calling them vile and wicked things, which we are to expect. But reality is we are the masters. And the Constitution is above all of us. And we have an obligation as Christians to remember that we rule under the Constitution, and that everyone that we vote for works for us. We are the masters of them. We have a right to dictate to them how they do things and what they do. And when they do what is wrong in the eyes of God, we have the constitutional authority to demand their ouster. And if they resist that ouster, we have constitutional ends by which they can be removed from office. And that starts in the Bill of Rights. Think the First and Second Amendment. Keep that in mind. That's the Constitution. That's the ruling authority in the United States. It has provided us means by which we can remove evildoers from office. Now, Christians, you have to ask yourself, are you a spineless jellyfish, or are you an American who is going to be obedient to the highest earthly authority, the Constitution, a human institution given to us by God? Soli Deo Gloria, Sic Semper Tyrannis.